only 1 year after the release of High School Musical, we got a second movie, and according to the reviews, it is apparently the best one in the series. But I'll be the judge of that. And this is going to be exciting for me since I never actually saw any movies beyond the first one. When the first movie came out, it was a smash hit. But there was also a big stigma around High School Musical. The stigma being is that it's a dumb show for girls, and if you're a guy who watched it, you should be ridiculed for watching a dumb girl show, which is a shame since it has really catchy songs. And you could think you could get away with like just listening to the music and like defend yourself saying, oh no, I never watched the movie. Ew, no. I just happened to hear my family playing the songs and I thought it was just some music. So I had no idea it came from this movie. Ew, what? Gross. Still gonna listen to it on my own time. But what? That didn't work. No, not at my place, not at my school, This is why I've never seen anything beyond the first movie, except for like snippets of trailers and bits of the movie while I was flipping through channels. If I'm going to be honest with myself, it probably wasn't entirely the risk of being ridiculed for the reason I didn't watch this movie. Probably the big reason just because I liked Cartoon Network, #1, Nickelodeon, #2, and then Disney Channel was #3. So I'm like, I just didn't think about going to watch Disney Channel that often. It was only if there was nothing on the first two that I'd actually watched Disney Channel. Cartoons were more important to me, and that is true even for today, because that's the majority of what I watch, especially now that I have a channel based entirely around it. Returning to East High School, they do a bunch of sweeping shots of all the main settings from the first movie. Remember all these places? From literally a year ago? Good times. The best part about making a movie so quick after the first is that you can keep the original cast, or at least it's really likely that you will. Anyway, it's time for summer vacation. So we have all the best aspects of a high school setting with all the fun of summer vacation. And in the first movie, Zac Efron's singing didn't make the final cut, but I guess they got him like some lessons and now it's actually his voice in this movie. Man, I miss summer vacation. Some people think that because I'm self-employed that I get to make my own hours, when the truth is you're actually working all the time. Enjoy summer vacation, because when you're in college, your summer vacation will be eaten up by job hunting. It doesn't get better, your parents are lying. First thing you see with this movie is that the cinematography is just better. All of it looks so much more professional. Hard for me to tell how. I think it's funny how I make videos for a living, but I can't really break down cinematography. I never went to film school. I've been winging it this whole time.
Tease and Troy?
What? Yeah?
And golly, Troy, I have first aid training.
Someone explained to me why we can't get colorful lockers. I'm not saying let the kids paint them or anything, but why can't we have multicolored lockers? Why does everything need to be beige or unsaturated blue? I want Sharpay's locker.
Who's the absolute primo boy at East High?
I'd say Troy Bolton has that category pretty much locked up, don't you think?
And East High's primo girl?
Gosh, you?
Troy.
Sharpay is jealous, and she decides Troy is gonna be hers whether he likes it or not. The boys are having trouble finding summer jobs, and it just so happens that Troy gets a call from Sharpay's country club and is offered a job. What a coincidence, OMG. Really easy to tell when a movie got a bigger budget when there's scenic locations, a car, and a doggy? The nice part is that they gave Ryan a lot more speaking lines. Last movie, he really faded into the background when he wasn't singing. Here's the thing. Fabulous was the best song in the whole movie when I watched it. And everyone I know agrees. The problem is, all the wannabe rich girls who were just legitimately awful people adopted that song for themselves. And so because I now heavily associate it with Jersey Shore and watching straight F students, this song was basically ruined for me. Troy Boy shows up with him and his hunky self, but oh wait, Gabriella got a job as a lifeguard. Whoops, didn't think of that one, did you, Sharpay? And apparently Sharpay can't swim or something. I don't know, weird detail. Sure, one of the reasons why this movie was so successful was because of the fun plot, the great songs, it was riding off the success of the first movie, but I also want to add another reason as to why it was successful, because it was airing to a bunch of kids who were going through puberty, and it starred barely legal adults as high schoolers, all in swimsuits. Troy and Gabriella's actors were both 19 when they filmed this movie. A big reason I could never finish this movie when I was younger was because I kept blushing whenever I saw Gabriella. Oh, Sharpay has parents. I mean, I guess that should have been obvious, but it's surprising for some reason.
If you can't fire them,
Make them want to quit.
Once again, a big part of the genius of High School Musical is to make sure the plot focuses on a big aspect of life and growing up. And finding your first job is a really big part. Of course, this may not be their first job, but still. And seeing them figure out how to maneuver their job is great to watch, since it's a great reflection on how bosses treat low-skilled newbies who are ignorant and are ripe for being exploited. All the singing and acting are all so much better in this movie.
I needed Benjamins, but this ain't worth the stress.
Almost all the singing. A big part of this movie revolves around Troy and Gabriella being an actual couple and doing cute things. And I'm scared, because usually when there's a sequel like this, they immediately jump to making the relationship difficult, and I just want them to be happy.
College costs a fortune. My parents are saving pennies, unlike the people at this place.
Oh yeah, sure. You and your backyard basketball court and fridge that looks like a wooden cabinet, and your Marble Island countertop. You must be so poor, Troy.
I always liked the idea of being in charge of my future, until it actually started happening.
Oh dang. That's, probably the most real thing I've heard in a Disney movie. Apparently there's a talent show happening, and that's gonna be part of the plot somehow. It's probably recycle the same thing as last movie, where Gabriella wants to do a duet and Troy doesn't want to, but he really likes Gabriella, so he ultimately caves and does it anyway, which is exactly what's happening right now. I just told you they're recycling the plot a little bit right now.
You're pulling me.
We are maybe a quarter through this movie and there's already been 4 songs. I figured the number of songs would increase in this movie, certainly. But I didn't think they'd have to squeeze them all in at the very beginning. I mean, it makes sense. People came here for fun musicals. So you gotta just slam some music in their face at the very beginning. Be like, haha, you're getting what you wanted. Okay, now let's go on with the plot. You know, it makes sense, but still, I'm like, I need to make jokes, Disney. I can't play music without it getting copyright claimed. So I'm gonna need you to use something that's not songs for a little while, please. I can't just make fun of the bad acting anymore. They kind of fixed that. Also, speaking of which, the sound mixing in this movie is a lot better. You ever notice when you go back to watch the first movie, whenever a song would start playing, it was so quiet? This time it actually sounds like they're singing at full volume instead of just playing a song on a radio and turning down the volume because your grandma is upset because it's too loud. I don't know. It's just, who was in charge of that in the first movie?
Maybe we can work this out, but only if we're all in this together.
Did you catch that? It was a super clever reference to the first movie where they had a song that at the very end of the movie called We're All in This Together, literally one of the most recognizable songs in all of High School Musical. Aren't the writers just so smart? And you see with the writers how they did that. Does the dog play a part in the story, or did they just want a dog on set because dogs are cute? I mean, if I was in charge, I'd probably do the same thing, to be honest. 2 things. 1, they're showing Troy and Chad being friends for like the first time. And second, this dude is doing a great job at being a jerk to them, trying to get them to quit. I love this guy.
So where's your dad?
You see that? That's Disney money, baby! Do you think they realize that Troy is clearly from a wealthy family? And so in order to make Sharpay feel so exuberantly wealthy, they had to go over the top, because they sort of put themselves in a corner. Because that's my theory.
Might come in handy the way I play golf. Fire!
I'm sorry, wait. Her ball went off to the side. They didn't even bother to refilm the shot so that it actually, you know, goes somewhere.
What do you think? Well, it's 190 to the pin, downhill lie, elevated green. I'd go with a full 5, sir.
Okay. Golf nerds in the comments, explain to me what he just said. I never studied golf. I know baseball. And, against my will, a little bit of American football. European football is easy. Kick ball into net. Don't get kicked yourself. Straightforward. I thought golf was get club, swing ball with club, get ball in hole. Now I'm wondering if there's more to it that I don't know. Why are there so many different clubs? I thought there were like 3.
Drill it. Backboard. Yes!
See that? That's how me and my friends play golf. Well, mini golf.
Dad, you'll be caddying for Mother. Troy, Daddy.
The internet has ruined that for me. It's gonna be tough hearing her say that.
Daddy.
Funny enough, it's a lot worse hearing 2 young men say it at the same time. Also, can we just take a minute to talk about how surprising Sharpay's family is? Sharpay is a character that is wholly selfish, and you would think that she developed that selfishness because her parents taught her to be selfish, or her parents were mean, and then she just has some sort of like weird, small amount of trauma. No, her family's really nice. I want to fire whoever was in charge of the logo because any graphic designer who uses papyrus should be fired. Or then again, I guess rich people don't have taste, so maybe it's a really, really smart design. Well, now I'm torn.
In case you're not familiar with this particular item, it goes around your neck, like a dog collar.
No. We already have them saying daddy. I don't need them adding dog collars to this. Sharpay's plan is actually really smart. She's getting her dad to offer college opportunities in order to keep him near her and not Gabriella. And so now he's gonna have to balance chasing opportunities and chasing, don't make an inappropriate joke, don't make an inappropriate joke, don't make an inappropriate joke.
My older sister has 10 rules about boy behavior, and 9 of them involve boys forgetting things they should never forget.
It wasn't an official date type of thing.
Rule number 3, all dates are official, whether the boy knows it or not.
I don't like her. That's just, no. Why would people make rules to make it harder to maintain a relationship? I know it shouldn't be like the easiest thing in the world, don't get me wrong, but like, why would you add more barriers than there already is? Her advice is literally, hey, don't communicate with your partner, and also don't be understanding with them when they have to work their job. For me, I kind of like to consider that everything we do is a date. There's just different levels of dates. We go get groceries, it's a date. We go get lunch together, it's a date. We go to the aquarium, that's a pretty big date. We go to a 5-star restaurant, we go to Italy, that's a massive date. That's probably when you start proposing, honestly.
You're not done.
Yeah, but I'm done for the day, sir, and actually I have a date,
Mr.
sir.
Bolton, you're under the mistaken impression I'm interested in what you have to say. Just follow me.
I'll tell you what you do, Troy. You clock back in. So long as you're taking orders, you better be getting paid for it. No more free labor for people who are already rich. Anyway, Troy gets sucked into watching a weird performance Sharpay does, which honestly feels like a weird forced song they dropped in so that they could add more quote-unquote summer songs to the soundtrack.
I'm talking about hanging out with friends. You know, doing nothing and singing for fun.
Wait a minute.
So I'm editing this video and I paused it right here, and I can't unsee that if you take the context away, it just looks like Zac Efron's angrily. It looks like Zac Efron's angrily trying to pick his nose. And now we start having their relationship strained because, you know, they seem fine. I'm still expecting it to happen, but so far it hasn't. Oh, I get it now. They don't need to play into the relationship having trouble. They can just make it to where they have trouble having a relationship. Smart.
You can't blame Gabriella.
I'm promoting you.
You what?
There's an opening as an assistant to the golf pros. Salary job, no clocking in,
But
$500 a week.
A job like that for a high schooler? Man, you can either work at a fast food restaurant for your first job and get yelled at by a bunch of jerkwads, or you can work at a country club and get yelled at by a bunch of rich jerkwads. Why didn't I think of that? They probably tip better too, or tip worse, I don't know. I've never worked at one. Troy is realizing that he's being given a bunch of chances at a pretty nifty life, but in order to pursue his new life, he needs to let go of his friends, his team, his b-ball boys, and to maybe, even down the line, if all things go to Sharpay's plan, maybe even his girlfriend. Which, honestly, this is a very real situation, and it just shows how clever the writing is for these movies. Again, I don't often see this topic tackled in shows for kids. It's a big, scary topic that everyone needs to attack, and it's really great that they're talking about it.
So wake up, sister. She's basically offering him a college education just to sing with her in the talent show.
You see, this is why I didn't start dating until after college. I didn't have to deal with any of this drama. I mean, there's also the self-doubt, the body image issues, the self-hatred, the unresolved issues with my parents, not really being interested in dating just because, like, I wasn't sure who I was really attracted to. Besides all those things, it's because I didn't want drama.
I knew it! It's perfect for your skin tone. And mine too!
We start seeing Sharpay's plan work. He's slowly being mesmerized by the life of luxury that he's forgetting about his friends. What's the point of opportunities if you're a jerk? You know, a life of comfort and stability and luxury and not having any fear and not having any worry about being homeless and not having to worry about food or bills or... Gabriella confronts him about how he's not being a good boyfriend. He's good at being Troy boy, not Troy boyfriend. And Gabriella is telling him that he's straight up changing, and then flat out just ditches his friends and his girlfriend. So yeah, Troy is becoming a certified well, rich person. That's code for being a massive dick. So Gabriella steals Ryan in a plan to help them put together the talent show. And Ryan has been thoroughly ignored by Sharpay, so he's not really against it. Troy walks in on Gabriella and Ryan chilling out and kinda hits him. Oh dang, this super attractive girl who is really into me, I might be losing her to another person. Also, can I just say, obviously, Vanessa Hudgens, it's gotten a lot better between this movie and the last. Clearly, she's a great actress now. I just feel mean for making fun of her in the last movie, and so when someone improves, I like to point it out. I highly doubt she's watching this video. This is solely for me to feel better because I understand that these are real people. That's kind of like why I like making fun of cartoons, because it's just a cartoon. It's not a real person. This is real people.
Look, Sharpay, I know I promised I'd do this, but just take it easy on me. I'm kind of new to the whole performing thing.
Oh, yeah, sure. After the last movie, I'd argue otherwise.
5, 6, 7, 8.
I take it back, this is a whole new level.
I think we were meant to sing together. Don't you?
Need some air.
Troy keeps missing his shots. I guess his head isn't in the game. In order to make sure Sharpay goes without competition, the country club is forcing them to work on the night of the talent show. You know, this is what I was expecting in the last movie. Sharpay is actually the antagonist of this film. I mean, she was the antagonist of the last film, but arguably so was everyone else. This one really cements her as the selfish prep girl that I wanted so bad. This was the titular point of her character.
No thanks, Sharpay. You're very good at a game that I don't want to play. But you better step away from the mirror long enough to check the damage that will always be right behind you.
Brutal. Glad to see Gabriella be more than just the smart pretty girl. It all hits a boiling point. Gabriella confronts Troy about being a total jerkwad and tells him she plans to quit because she just can't do this anymore. You've changed, Troy. Troy Bolton? More like Troy Bolt off. Troy Bolton? More like Troy Holton. My broken heart. Troy? More like annoying me. Jokes aside, I gotta admit, this is surprisingly emotional. Probably because, you know, I'm in a relationship now, so I can empathize with it better. But still, the point is, this movie is doing a lot more than I would have expected. The fact that they've jumped from the corniness of the first movie to this is impressive. Discovering how awful Sharpay is, Troy finally hits a breaking point and rushes in to do something.
Everybody's always talking at me. Everybody's trying to get in my head.
And this is the most iconic song in this entire franchise. It's such a great song that stands so well on its own, I completely forgot it came from this movie. I listened to this song so many times that I thought it was just a song, and more importantly, this is how you use songs in musicals. When there's a big character change, a pivot in the story, that's the best points where you utilize the song in order to capture that raw emotion. And that's why musicals end up being so successful. Expressing emotion is very hard, but it becomes a lot easier when you format it into a song. And this movie executes that perfectly.
What do you mean you're not doing the show?
Exactly that.
Kelsey told us what went down between you and Sharpay.
I'm more interested in what went down between me and you, man. But hey, brothers fight.
They're still brothers.
I don't need to cry right now. Hang on. Just gotta collect myself.
I don't really want to see my sister crash and burn. At least I think I don't. I think you should sing with her.
No. No, he really shouldn't. No!
I do the show if the Wildcats do the show.
Yes!
Hey, why'd you switch songs?
Switch songs.
Yeah, Ryan said.
And Ryan, being the genius that he is, gets Troy on stage and Gabriella. And now in front of everyone, they can mend the relationship in a big climactic moment where Troy realizes who he really wants to be, and Gabriella sees the struggle he just went through, and it came out the other side a better man, and is now ready to forgive him and accept him for the better version that he has chosen to be.
The Star Dazzle for this year goes to
My brother, Ryan Evans.
Oh, sure. Now you want to be a decent human being.
Here's to the future.
No.
Just right now.
Of course, we ended on a big song and dance because Is that Miley Hannah Montana Cyrus? Turns out that Disney did a vote for the fans to choose who you'd want to see cameo in this movie. And that was her cameo. Thank you, Isabella, for telling me this, because when I was watching this, I completely missed it. What kind of cameo is that? That's not a cameo. I mean, I guess maybe they didn't want to give her a speaking role because that means they'd have to pay her more. Okay, I understand that. But like, you put her in a giant crowd of people, several of whom were also wearing green shirts, making it next to impossible to differentiate her from the literal dozens of other brown hair, plain dressed girls in that crowd. If I voted on that poll, I would be livid. No wonder this movie did so well. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, that's a great way to advertise and market this show. A lot of people were being like, oh gosh, not only am I excited for High School Musical, but also the super popular Hannah Montana franchise, that of which was also pretty big during that time, is also going to have a cameo of my favorite star, OMG. And then they watched it. And then for a lot of people, they probably just said, hey, I didn't see her. I've been gypped. I've been lied to. I would have had Miley Cyrus sit down at a table with Sharpay's parents. Just like maybe before, like, the big song at the very end, maybe just have her wave and smile and just give her a few more seconds on the camera. You know, something that would distinguish her from a crowd and not put her in a crowd. But beyond that, the first movie was corny and had an unoriginal story, but great songs. This movie, honestly, I don't even feel like it was corny. The story was actually decently original, if you ask me. And the songs were way better. Everything about this movie was an improvement. Apparently all the work into this primarily went to the writing, the setup, the editing, the location scouting, all the stuff that we as reviewers and stuff don't really talk about, because filming only took them 5 weeks. And one of those weeks was purely dedicated to Troy's Bet On It song. Hang on, I didn't fact check that. I read that. I need to look that up. Okay, so that information came from IMDb, which is not a reliable site. Wikipedia, which is probably also more reliable, but I don't know if they referenced the IMDb site, which is not really reliable. It also explains why it only took 1 year. I wonder if they just had these scripts like ready and like the writers just had all these ideas that they were ready to deliver on. Now, I don't know how long it usually takes to film a movie, but 5 weeks feels like an impressively small amount of time, regardless of the fact that this is a direct-to-TV movie and not one of those big budget Hollywood movies. Like 17 again. But I feel like in order to film this in only 5 weeks, everyone had to be on top of their game. You could even say they all had their head in the game. The amount of love this movie gets is completely deserved. If High School Musical wasn't an already incredibly influential film, the sequel took it over the top. You could even say they bop to the top. Disney, and by extension Pixar, are the best, or was the best, at creating stories that are appropriate for kids, but touched on major aspects of life, and would always deliver a story that felt thoroughly thought through. And the purpose was to help guide the younger audience through complicated aspects of life. They still do that today, just to a lot less success, because the biggest stories have kind of already been delivered on. And I feel like High School Musical 2 kind of did the same job. There was so much hype around this movie, it broke the record for concurrent viewers on made-for-TV, made-for-cable movies, garnering 17 million viewers upon its initial broadcast. And I know what you're thinking, wow, negative, that means it would have to have beaten out Sports Ball, which is the world's most unhealthy obsession. And you'd be right, it's a great observation, good job. Needless to say, the hype around this movie was at its peak at the second movie. They managed to crank this movie out in only 1 year, doing everything they could to maintain people's attention and ride off of the hype of the first one. Because as you know, if you wait too long to release a sequel, general interest will eventually just fall. But did you think that the sequel was really better than the first? Why or why not? What did you like or dislike about the sequel? Let me know in the comments below. I have a Patreon where you can watch my videos months in advance and get monthly stickers. I hope you enjoyed this video, stay beautiful, and keep playing.